Good morning, welcome to Asher and Turning Time. We are up to Perek Chav Beis, and now we are finally back to having a righteous king once again. And to a certain extent, Menashe was like probably one of the worst. Then he had a son, who was also a bad king, very short reign. And now this child king, the son of Amon, Yeshio, is born, and Ben Shmoyna Shonu Yeshio b'Malcha. He's 8 years old. He's a little boy. He's almost like Yoash, if you remember, the child king. So Ben Shmoyna Shonu Yeshio b'Malcha, 8 years old, he takes over the show. 31 years he rules in Jerusalem. Imo Yedido Vas Adoyo mi Botzkas. Now it seems from the name of his mother, from Yedido Bas Adoyo, was that she was a tzaddikus. And maybe, again, that's what influence. We had it already a few times, that when we mentioned the names of a mother, it's because she was the influence who got her son on track. And that's a message that we always need to remember, that it's many times the woman and the mothers who have the influence on the children, that although they're coming from a bad track record of parents or grandparents, they have the ability to set a family on track. Vayas hayosher bein Hashem, Yeshio did what was righteous in the eyes of God. He goes in the ways. Now, if you remember just the name Yeshio, just the name, a lot of times a lot is in the name. It's call is it's also a lesson of Yeshio, of a lesson of salvation, that the God will bring a salvation. So it seems from the Mefarshim that the early years of his reign, being that he was a child, even though he was righteous, they didn't give him control because he was still a child king, so there was the old cabinet that was in control. But once he became 18 and he takes over his own show and he established himself that he's boss, then Alei el Chilkiyo HaKohen HaGadol. So he sends a message, go up to Chilkiyo. And he says, Yatem es HaKesef HaMuva Beis Hashem. Prepare all the money that was brought into the Beis HaMikdash. Asher Osvu Shomrei Hasaf Me'esa Am. Now, this is very similar again to the story that we had with Yoash, who was also a child king, which he made the Bedek HaBayis. And we spoke about it, that the first pushka that we have mentioned ever is the story of Yoash, who made the Bedek HaBayis, and that's when they made this pushka with a slit where everybody put in money. So it's almost similar to that story where he wants to repair the Beis Hashem. Now, it's very simple what happened over here. Being that he had his father and his grandfather Menashe, obviously they let the Beis HaMikdash almost for 200 years, I don't know how many, whatever, nearly 200 years period, if you go through the whole system. 200 years too much, but I'm saying verse from Achav and Chizkiyo maybe repaired it, but then it fell again into disrepair. And Menashe was a king for like a long time until David Ayomim he did tshuva, and then his son, basically, there was idols put in over there, and the whole place was a wreck. And here he says the same thing that we learned already back then, which is a klal, which is a big klal in halacha, that whenever you have people who are appointed to take care of a kuppah, to take care of a tzedakah, let's say the people who are in charge of taking care of a building fund or whatever it is, once you entrust them, you have to be very on top of your game who you take, that they should be responsible and they should be erlich and they should have the right intentions. But once you appoint somebody to sit on a public position to take care of community funds, you don't nitpick him and audit his books to make sure that he's spending everything correctly, because if you do that, then nobody's ever going to take the position. You're never going to have somebody to be in a position to run a shul or run an organization if there's going to be a whole oversight committee who's not going to let the guy live. So on the one hand, you have to find the right guy, the right people who are dedicated for the cause and that they have a strong reputation. But once you put them in that position, then you have to give them the trust. So he gives them the command, give it in the hands of those that are going to be building, the architects, Hamafukadim Beis Hashem, Asher bebeis Hashem, the chazak is bedek habayis. Give it to them that they should strengthen all the cracks and all the places that need repair, because for the last 124 years from Yoash, it was in disrepair. Lecharashim, the money you should give to ones that cut wood, v'laboinim, and to the builders, v'lagoidrim, and to the ones who build the walls, v'liknes eitzim, in order to buy lumber, v'avnei machzev, in order to buy hewn stones, l'chazek es habayis, ach lo yechoshev itam, this is what we just discussed, don't make a cheshbon with them, hakesef anitna yodam, ki be'emuna emoisim, because they have to work in good faith. Whatever, the Mepharshim are all busy with this. And what does it mean? It's very interesting, and a lot of the things that we see in Nach is a lot of systems and structures, how to establish communities, and how to make organizations, and how to create governments, and where the corruptions come in, and how to avoid corruption. That's a lot of the themes that go on throughout Nach. So this is one of the small details. Here a very interesting story happened. It's very not clear in the Mepharshim how to, there's like two paths how to go about it. But let's see. He goes to a sofer named Shafon. Chilkiyahu goes to the scribe and he says, Sefer HaTorah motzosi bebeis Hashem. I found the Sefer Torah in the Beis Hashem, which was hidden. Now here's a machloikis. It's not clear. Either it seems like that Menashe destroyed, according to some of our Menashe destroyed all the Sefer Torah that existed. So they discovered a Sefer Torah which was like saved or which was hidden. But it's very difficult to say that, because when you have Chizkiyahu, he followed in the Beis Hashem and he said, La Yosem Mimenu Yom and Esmoil. So the Mepharshim say, if he was La Yosem Mimenu Yom and Esmoil, it means that it says in the Torah that every single king had to have a Sefer Torah and read it. So if he didn't veer Yom and Esmoil and he fulfilled all the mitzvahs, then obviously he had a Sefer Torah. So also I'm starting to say that Menashe took out the Sefer Torah that was inside of the Aron and destroyed it. I mean, we don't have any, it's not recorded anywhere that the Sefer Torah from Moshe Rabbeinu was destroyed. Those that argue that it was, say that Sefer Torah was hidden, because in Divrei Hayomim it does describe the Sefer Torah as a Sefer Torah which was written by Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashakas of Moshe. What most Mepharshim say the Pshat is that there were always Sefer Torah around. That wasn't the issue. But here they found the Sefer Torah, that when they opened up the Sefer Torah, they found that it was open to the portion of the Tochacha. So it wasn't that they found the Sefer Torah, is that they found the Sefer Torah that instead of being opened by Bereshis, or it was like out of nowhere open to the Tochacha, and they found that a very jarring message. So Vayomer Chilkiyahu HaKohen HaGadol HaShafon HaSofer Sefer HaTorah Motzasi Bebeis Hashem. I found the Sefer Torah in the house of Hashem, which was hidden. Vayitan Chilkiyahu as a sefer al Shafan v'yikreu. So he gives it to Shafan to read, and the pasuk that they opened it up to said, Yoylech Hashem oischo v'es malkecho asher tokim alecho el goy asher lo yadai ta'atav v'secho, which means that you're going to be exiled. Vayova Shafan ha-sofer El HaMelech. So now Shafan the Sofer comes to the king. Very interesting, these names. It's like somehow there's like a whole string of these weird names over here. Like Shafan is a rabbit, and then they're going to go to Achbar, and then there's Chulda and Aviyah. I don't know. I have to find out what like the meaning of all these weird names over here are. Anyway, Vayovan Shafan HaSofer El HaMelech Vayeshav HaMelech HaMelech Davar. It brings him the information. Now he didn't want to tell him that bad information. You don't go to the king and say, "Hey, we just got a Toichacha message from heaven." So he told him, "Vayomer hitichu avodecho as hakesav animtzo b'bayis vayitnu al yad oisam alocha mefukadum beis Hashem." He starts off with good news that, by the way, this edict that you gave that the building should get repaired, it's getting done properly, and we set up the system. Now, once he gets that, starts off with good news, he says, Sefer Nosan Chilkiyahu HaKohen. The Sefer that Chilkiyahu gave me after it was found hidden. Vayikre'eu shafan l'fnei HaMelech. And now he opens it up and he reads it the way it was. Vayikeshmoya HaMelech es divrei sefer HaTorah. And he's reading the message that he got of the Torah. Vayikres begadov. He rends his garments. You ever heard the story from Rabbi Shaduvit Grassman? There's his book Living Legend, where I heard the story from him himself when I was years ago in Mezhebish, where he describes how he got from this, I think one of the mayors somebody in the Israeli army, I don't know, somebody got from this German guy, gave him you ever saw it, this passport holder from his father? Anyway, his father was this pilot who bombed locations. Anyway, long story, the punchline is that on his deathbed he gave him a passport holder that he made, and he said that he should give it over to something that belongs to the Jewish people. And the end was that when he gave it to Yeshua Gross, when he opened it up, he almost fainted, because it was made from a parchment that the guy cut out from a Sefer Torah, mamash the words of the Torah. So he has it today, and he goes around and he shows it, this passport, this passport holder. It's mamash like this Nazi went into a random shul, saw Sefer Torah, cut out at a random spot, and he made from that his thing, and now, like years later, it was delivered back. So it's definitely very, very like. Anyway, vayikre'eu shafan l'fnei HaMelech, vayikeshmoy HaMelech es divrei sefer HaTorah, vayikres begadov. He rends his garments because he got the message that this is bad news. This is a message from Hashem. This is stamazoi. If you want to like take out a practical message from this, is that there's two guesses on what the story was. Either they discovered a Sefer Torah that was hidden forever, like there was no Sefer Torah, and suddenly they discovered a Torah, or was that there was always Sefer Torah, but they discovered a message from the Torah that was relevant. And that's something which happens to us all the time. First of all, the fact that you have Sefer Torah all over the place, or the fact that you have, how many shuls have a Navi, for example, right? Every shul has a Navi. There is no shul that doesn't have a Navi, but we just never opened it up. We never learned it for our entire lives, whatever the reason was. But the fact that things exist in our shuls and in our houses doesn't mean that we actually opened it up, and that even after you open it up, you have to open your eyes up, and even if you open your eyes up, you have to open up your soul up. So there's many layers, but eventually, sometimes a message hits, and that's the day that you found the Sefer Torah. So Yitzav HaMelech es Chilkiyahu HaKohen ves Achikam ben Shofan ves Achboir ben Michiyahu, also these weird names. Shofan, Achboir ben Michiyahu ves Shofan HaSofer. Achboir is like a rat. There's Asoyo Eved HaMelech. I don't know, I have to find out what's up with these names over here. There's probably something going on. Ves Asoyo Eved HaMelech leimer lechu dirshu es Hashem. What do you do? He said, go ask from Hashem, Ba'adi. He says, go ask Hashem, go ask them like what we should do now, what's the message? Ba'ad Om, Ba'ad Kol Yehuda. Al Divrei HaSefer HaNimtzah, Ki Gedol Chamas Hashem, Asher Nitziso. The anger of God is great, it's burning. Allah Shalom was saying, Divrei HaSefer Hazeh, because our forefathers weren't listening to what was written in here, and this is the results. So here's one of the first times that we find them going to a woman Navi. Chazal say, why didn't they send them to Yirmiyahu Navi? Why did they dig out Hulda Naviya, even though she was a prophet? But you had Yirmiyahu, and he was the chief prophet. So why did they go to Hulda? So Chazal say, because Noshim Rachmoni is Hein.
Also he wasn't there.
Also he wasn't there? Could be. Right. El Shloho Yom Yerushalayim, the Radak says, correct. So Hulda was Yerushalayim. But Hulda Neviah was a woman, and because she was a woman, it says Noshim Rachmoni is Hein. So even though nobody can change the prophecy, but they were hoping that the prophecy, when it's going to come down through the channel of a woman, Hashem would like filter it in a way of Rachmanis. also that clearly they could still pray. They would still be able to like pray to change the message. Like if it's going to come through Chulda, it's still going to be able to. Unfortunately, I'm busy with this. How is it possible? Like, what difference did it make if they gave it to Chulda Nevi'ah or not? And how Chulda Nevi'ah would actually affect the prophecy? In the end, it actually didn't. Because Vayelech El Kiyo HaKoyen V'achikam HaAchbav Shofan Osei El Chulda Nevi'ah Eshe Shalom ben Tikva, which if you remember, the Shalom ben Tikva, according to the Mefarshim, he was the guy in the old time ago, right? So it looks like he was the one who was like, he was born from that reborn guy who touched the bones of Elisha. Son, like the son.
Really old, or they had a huge.
Shalom ben Tikva is a son from the reborn guy. But yeah, ben Charchas. Again, it's midrash, and I don't think it's pshat. Shemer Abagadam v'Yoshevet b'Yerushalayim b'Mishnah v'Yidaber Elea. So they go to Chulda Nevi'ah. Shalom was the Shemer Abagadam. He guarded all the garments of the king. Now she was sitting by Mishnah. Now Mishnah has two types. And either Mishnah means she was sitting in a Mishnah, like she was sitting in Besmedrish. Chulda Nevi'ah was sitting in Besmedrish. Or it means like in a second gate. And they told him the message, and they were hoping that she would download some type of compassion, some type of mercy. Go tell this man that sent you to me. So said God, yep, I'm going to bring evil on this place. It's called the Sefer HaShekorah, Melech Yehuda. Because you abandoned me, because you brought incense to other gods, in order to incense me. No pun intended. Like in order to enrage me. And that was the big problem here, was I was lahaches. And my anger is burning like fire in this place, and it won't die down. And to Yeshiyahu, the king of Judah, was sent to me to search for God and to find meaning. Tell him, this that you heard, for you personally it's going to be different. Because your heart was soft. And you subjugated yourself, and you were machniya yourself when you heard when you got the message, this eluded message, that this place is going to be cursed and desolate. You rend your clothing and you cried before me. I heard your prayer. Therefore, you're going to die with your parents. And you're going to get gathered into the burial place of your forefathers b'shalom in peace. Now, the peace doesn't mean over here that he's going to die in peace, because we're going to see later that he didn't die in peace. But it means that he would die before the calamity befalls the Jewish people. You're not going to see all the evil that's come down in this place. For Yeshivas HaMelech Davar, and they came back to bring the message. Now, what's interesting over here is that really he's getting back a bad message. So it's not what he intended to get, but usually, whenever you get such a message from the Navi, it's time to throw in the towel. There's nothing more you could do. And as we're going to see in the next Perek, that Yeshayahu took it totally the opposite way, which had inspired him, because he got a bad response from Chulda Nevi'ah, that caused him to go all the way out and take a last-ditch hope that he's going to bring back the people again, which is again a story of what we were saying the whole time, that Navi is the story of how different people process situations in their life. And the story of Yeshayahu is a way that sometimes the way how you process impending calamity and doom, instead of throwing in the towel, is you say, okay, so let's do this. And that's one of the positive messages that Yeshayahu teaches us. L'chaim.